we also told you, and since we brought that event live, that is the election of a president for the Ghana Football Association, almost like a new outlook, a new rebirth, and a reconstitution of the Football Association as it is, electing Okraku as president. But on Thursday, we had also had elections into various positions in the Executive Council. It used to be the Executive Committee in the old guard. But I tell you, somebody who had also been in the ESCO before, interaction with many football administrators, teams, etc. Is a football administrator himself with Accra House of Folk. Is also an entrepreneur and knows a lot about the ins and outs of not only business but football business. Is Frank Nelson, and Frank Nelson is right here. Mr. Nelson, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Later we'll be joined by Samuel Enimado. He's also been elected representing the...
That's my son.
Yes, the Division 1 of three people representing. Yes, yes, but we know where we are currently because Anas decided to do an expose, turn the football fraternity upside down. At the end of the day, we are where we are. We have a new football association president. Okay. But was he the one you were rooting for?
Well, Kurt, I know, and Kurt, I believe. Most of them, almost all of them,
are your children?
Were mine. We could look, apart from maybe the young lady Amanda.
You are familiar with everybody?
Yes, I'm familiar.
So you're a father for?
I mean, all of them refer to me Uncle Frank, including my good brother Palmer. He will always say Uncle Frank. So they're all my children, and some of us who have crossed paths in different ways. Kate, have been with Kate in ESCO, Nanaya Amponsa, it's mine, Georgia Freer, it's mine. I mean, all of them basically, Apse, my good old friend, and we still fraternize together with church. I believe there were quality among them, but at the end of the day, one head has to shift up.
If you look at the football that Okraku has inherited, as well as the Executive Council has inherited, what is the state now, do you think?
Well, I think first of all, he has to be himself. It is a new dimension. It's a situation where people has wept to depart from a particular environment and has found themselves in a new dispensation everybody were just looking at. I think Kurt, I know, just have to be himself. And I think the environment is not new to Kurt, even though it's a new environment as we term it. But he's a seasoned administrator. He knows what it takes. He knows how to work with people. And I think his selflessness will help him to achieve and better. Having said that, it's not something one should be able to say, we'll leave it for Okraku to do it. It must be all hands on deck and for us to be able to achieve, because the important thing is the Ghana Football Association. And like you said, before the expose and after the expose, you know how people are reacting to football in this nation. It has affected so many things economically in terms of businesses and every other thing. And then to whom much is given, much is expected. So that's what I think at the time. But I believe that in no doubt, without missing word, that he will be able to stand to the call that he has been called to do.
If he has to start working the ground, and if you look at the people who are currently still around football, it's still the old guard with the experience. Of course, the behavioral patterns made sure that we departed from what normal ethics were. Okay. So where does he need to first start doing, one, the thinking, the boardroom thinking, the strategy, and then rallying people around?
Well, this question I think first of all that his first port of call for me is he need to look at his secretariat and look at people who will be able to give him what he wants in the secretariat. Football secretariat has been a place of commencement, And for him to be successful, I think he needs to work hard in the secretariat in terms of the culture, the attitude of the people in the secretariat, because it's people in the secretariat that he will work for. When you talk about old guards, the old guards are what's the old guards? The old guards are the people who has influence in the secretariat, who has what it takes to be able to influence the secretariat and make sure that things are done in their own manner or the way they want it. So if Ketch is able to streamline the secretariat and get it working, and then put it to the position that people will have faith, an absolute faith with the secretariat, I think his work will be made easier.
You called for Ghanaians to exercise patience for the gentleman, the new president of the Ghana football. What did you mean by that?
Well, just like I said, is somebody I think, and I know, that he knows what to do. But we all know that it's like a government coming to power. So much in demand from every reporter. People in the street, the football has come back, you have been voted, what's the result, what are we achieving? I don't think that should be the system. I think that we need to be a little bit patient, to give him time to be able to study the environment. He's done his campaign, he's come out with his profile that this is who I am. He's given us his manifestos. But just have to tell you that manifestos are not just implemented in one day. So if people want him to say that, oh, you have come in the next 100 days, we want you to do this, you should be this, you should be this. I think we should be patient and give him time to be able to do it. 4 years' term is big, but it's not even big enough, judging from where we're coming from and the expectation of the public. So I believe we should be able to give Mr. Okraku the time, the patience, and then the support for him to be able to be. As for doing it, I have the absolute confidence that he has to do it. He can do it very well. But he needs time to be able to, like I just said earlier, to be sure that his secretariat is and look at the staffs who are competent, staffs who are giving results, not just in an antagonistic manner, but people understanding that this is what he wants and this is how I want to move. A mandate has been given to me, and it's not me and you relationship before, it's making Ghana football happy, making the woman in the street, the child in the school very happy to say, look, this is the right person we have voted. Then we need to be patient for him to get to that level. But I believe, again, like I said, he will do it very well.
I grew up in Ashaima.
Okay.
Wow. Back in the day, it used to be one of the centers producing footballers. We had areas in Kumasi, we had Tamale, we had Fadama, Sukura, some of those areas, notable areas. And you could see that grassroots football was one of the means by which we produced talents. So over the weekend, when I knew that I would be doing this interaction, yes, I had some interaction with those who used to organize court football, etc. We may think that even at that level, people did not chop from grassroots football, but it was also a means to an end. It looks like, from the interaction I had, the business of football has collapsed. We say that we want to get to the way the Brazilians or the Indians, the Europeans do it.
The Europeans, maybe the Germans and everything.
Exactly. What model should we be looking at? Our economy is not the economy of Europe. It's still not the economy of even Brazil in the first place, but we have the talents. And those who invest in the talent should get what they are due. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a very big point. And again, I'm just thinking we're just talking about the coast football, because when you're talking about going to Ashaman and I mean, Kokempe and all these things, I remember the Jaola babies and every other thing. And I know this man, Ket, he understands that business going to down. If you look at his team, Dreams FC, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think there's any team that is running under 12 in this country now, under 14, under 16. I think he understands it, because I just mentioned Jaola babies by accident, but I know when it comes to coast football, he's well grounded. He's done all those things. He started with Alaji Bimbo, then from the grassroots. He knows what it means to unearth talents. If you check his record, sometime, if you check Dreams FC, not his record, Dreams FC, you find out that most of the boys you find in Europe, they pass from Dream FC, and some of them depart at younger age. And I think in every year you find out that about 3 or 4 players goes out of Dream to Europe. And then some of them are young players that people have not even had their name. And I think he understood that system of the coast system. But having said that, one of the impediments on that is that we are all in a hurry to make money. So nobody wants to give the talent the time to mature. And nobody wants to think that it takes time, or it takes money, or it takes effort to groom a player. Once you discover a player today, the person comes, there are so many managers on the line. Parents are now understanding and seeing that this is a livelihood, because since Michael Essien, Osei Kufo, Stephen Appiah, who had their records were the same with this, so we must get that millions. And some parents has lost the patience, and then managers has come in between. So they do not give us that time to be able to nurture players. Some of the players are being, their mind has been built up negatively, that they don't even understand that they have to sacrifice years to be able to get to that level, that so that somebody or the family could enjoy the economic rise of such players. So you find that impatience from the parents, from the managers, and every other person has equally impeded on the progress of unearthing talent. So you see players who are supposed to have patience maybe 4 or 5 years in a club and everything. By the time they play 1 or 2 years, everybody wants to depart. And at the end of the day, these kids are messed up. So I think the rush for money in that division or in that environment has equally brought a standoff where we have gotten to, because it's just 12 years. Oh, I know he can play, so I want 10,000 Ghana cedi for him. I want 20,000 cedis for him, without thinking that the child has to go to school, the child has to be fed, somebody has to take care of his welfare. And in between, you find that there's such players, people miss, because as soon as you put those obstacles, managers or people who are interested, who has what it takes to be able to groom such players, they start departing from you. And at the end of the day, you don't have the contact, you don't have the know-how, you cannot even send the child. And they make some of those children sign contracts that, as for me, are deadly situations for children. So you find most of the children, they mess up. So I think we need to change our character, in that we'll be patient, allow the system to work, and then be able to entrust the boys in the people who know that can be able to transform the children, give them what it takes. You cannot just, Rome was not built in a day. So if you just think that you've seen a talent 12 years and you think that he can be a Michael Essien tomorrow, sometimes I think that we should be a little bit patient in that situation.
But that's what we expect of the other stakeholders, the parents, the society, etc. Yeah. But those who then tend to do the management, how do we synchronize that? Make sure that is drilled down, because even for the Europeans, the parents know that this is what I want my child to do, and so they start the path, and so the help is coming from the home, and the transition is done through the clubs. Now, the administration is expected to do that synchronization. How will we be able to do that?
Well, again, like you said, the parents are involved. Okay, first of all, I've identified my child, and I believe that this can be X. Now, what do I do? How do I do it? There's an administration. How do I get him into that area? Are there academies? Where can I introduce my child to an academy? Do we have such situation? Now, running academies in this country, few academies, Right to Dream, WAFA and every other, you can hardly count academies in this nation. And then becomes an obstacle, because most of the academies, first of all, nobody wants his child now to grow knowing that football after 30 years or something is not about football again. You need to go to school. So you need to balance it in a way that parents want to be sure that their children equally go to school. And some of the people call themselves the academy, they don't want to give those children that level of education that the parents will assume that, okay, he's going to school, just like we see in England or any other place, that my child is in a school, but he's in a good academy. So his education and his career is going up simultaneously. So there's no departure from education. It means that in terms of football, he will secure his future after football. So I think there's a way we need to come up. We need to come in to be able to build more academy. People need to invest in this. So that's why I always ask that such things are very costly for us to do. But if our businessmen and corporate institutions begin to understand it, that sometimes we can do a partnership, I always hit on partnership for us to be able to create such situations. Because you find some, if you go like Netherlands, that is their hub. Academies and bringing people, young players up. You find that players that you get from the Netherlands, they are excellent. You saw what the Germans did at the time, decided to depart from the old system and then go back to the youth and be able to bring them up. But it all comes to the understanding that there will be investment. Corporate body or corporate organizations in Ghana, for instance, has close their eyes and don't see it as even something lucrative. If you, not just corporate, if you want to look at institutions like those days we used to have Power FC, those with Gapoha, and then all those clubs.
Yeah, we used to have institutional clubs.
Yes, institutional club. And then what happened? Why did the institutions depart from them? What made, for instance, the ECG, the Power
FC.
What happened to ECG? Ash Gold and all this. And you find out that Ash Gold used to have one of the best academy in Ghana when Ash Gold came. Everybody thought that that's the end of it. But at the end of it, you find out that the same academy went down. So you ask yourself, what's this? Is it management? Is it the loss of confidence in the society? Or is it the laws of the nation that is not making it? Are there laws that are impeding on all of these things? Is it the way the government deal with these institutions in terms of the rights to maybe incentives and every other thing? Do they work? Do the government interfere in making sure that these institutions are knowing that the future of the children is equally infringed on these institutions? So if the government becomes a little bit liberal, then it will equally help the institutions in terms of how you deal with them, with their items, maybe things they import in this to this, and then taxes and every other thing. I think we need to look at it holistically and be able to say which part is the government going, which part is the administrators going, and which part is the parents going. So you'll be able to bring all together. I think we'll be able to have hope and picture for these young children that we have here. We have a lot of talent in Ghana. Like you said, Ashiama, anytime you want to do, I always say my club, Accra, so folk, anytime I want to look for talents, if you just go between Tema and Ashiama and just say Accra, so folk, there are people who will volunteer to come and play for, and then you see talents that people has never seen. But you need to guarantee them that their future is bright. You need to guarantee the parents that they are not in the wrong hand, that at the end of the day, God's grace, let me say, use God's grace, that something good will come out of it. Then somebody can be able to live. Then the institution must be able to have laws that will be able to favor those children, that do not make it difficult, that people, managers and laws and contracts they sign and every other thing, people impede their progress by different type of contracts they put or propose upon them. I think we'll be able to, but I think government equally has a position to take in this situation.
During or after the Anas expose, you're quoted to have said the expose only depicted what all of you knew as football administrators. I'm reading it here. Now, we also found out apparently referees are bribed or they are compromised. The administrators themselves also were compromised. And the focus in football administration nationally was not on developing talents, but rather making money out of the few talents that emerged. Now that we have a structure that is supporting one term, a 4-year period, okay, an individual can go a second term if you're able to win. A council that is well grounded in law, and I would say now proper governance structure and procedures. How can we, as the structure of football currently, create that environment for the parents, to those who invest in the talents, and then the supporters out there to get the output that they expect?
Well, it's a simple question, in my opinion. First of all, look at the clubs in Ghana. And the first thing you ask yourself, who owns those clubs? They're individuals. Could be a sole proprietor. It could be a partnership. In terms of the club belongs to, let's say, Frank Nelson Football Club. Now, it depends on me and my management to understand that there's a system. Education through my supporters, that we're in a society that we don't live alone, means that we have to behave according to the law. Football got bad because people invested in football and everybody wants to defend his investment. So what it takes for you to make sure that your investment is afloat, you have to do. And that is one of the reasons that got us to where we found ourselves, because at the end of the day, you hear people go into a center and you, for instance, a management of Team B will not be allowed to get down to the pitch because the supporters think that once you get down, you influence the game, so you must not get down to the pitch. The supporter does not want to allow you to enter, have access to the gate and every other thing. I think this is not football, and that's not what the law says about. I mean, it's not at all times that you must win at your home, because that's what we saw at a particular time. Okay, no matter what it is, you win at home. We see it in countries, a civilized society, especially the EPL. We see clubs like City losing 2-0 at home to Wolves.
Crystal Palace just went to draw with Arsenal
yesterday 2-2. And so you see that situation, the supporters do not just go that it's a situation we have to close the gate, you must. So I think, first of all, the education has to go down from club owners, who are the administrators, who are the managers, to their supporters. If are the ones that are being controlled by the chiefs, I mean the society where, for instance, there's a particular area in this country that no matter what it is difficult for you to get a win in that area. You'll be beaten by 1-0, you'll be beaten by 2 penalties. And I think these are not football we must depart from. And I believe by the new laws that we have come down, we have to be sure that we all sacrifice. A business a risk, and every businessman takes a risk. There's no way you can survive in business without taking risk. So since you are taking the risk, you must know that you need to do things well. You might do your things very well, but again, that risk of business might storm you. And when it storms you, know that every business is profit and loss. So if it gets to that level, you must accept. But we played out of that because we never accepted those situations. We wanted to be, it must be. Nobody, quote unquote, wants to be relegated, because relegated means that my finances has gone. And that's why sometimes, in my opinion, I was thinking, we talked about countries that the government invests in football. Sometimes I was thinking that, assuming, for instance, Accra Asufok is sponsored by Greater Accra region, Ashanti Kotoka Ashanti region. So the government, at the end of the day, will have a budget set, presented to the government. The government comes in and says, okay, it's a club, the government has a hand. Now we have about 18 league clubs starting. Let's say 9 clubs owned by the government, 9 clubs by individual. When the two of them meet, the government interference, this is not interference because they have a team now. So government has its own team. I have my own team. So the quest for money to survive my team becomes a little bit lesson, that the burden is taken away a little bit. So, but when you have invested your lifetime savings into football and you see it that you can use your supporters just for 90 minutes and block the gate, or use a log to block the road so that no car can go to your vicinity to be able to get 3 points. People will do it because it's an investment. When the business goes down, nobody comes to say, oh, express his sympathy. So I think that we need to depart from such situations and look at the new laws that has come, and let us come in and say, look, what we had in the past brought a lot of pain to us. It deprived investors the opportunity to be able to have confidence in the society. People were not interested to corporate bodies, departed from it. Because of all this attitude, that's maybe what led to the institutional teams departing, seeing that, look, there's no reason of getting into this business because we see that if it's not being played on the right track or in a clean sheet. So let's depart and forget about it. Otherwise, I believe institutions will come, and then when the institution can, this burden of paying salaries and every other thing, for Gapova, ECG and others, and it was very easy for them to pay salaries in those days. Quite unlike these days, people struggle to pay. You find a player being paid even 200 Ghana cedi for a season, 300 Ghana cedi. The person lives in Kasoa. You expect him to come and train in Tema or to come and train in Ayas Park, Legon. And the same 300 Ghana cedi is his salary. The parents knows that, oh, he has become a professional player, and at the end of the day, he's getting 300. He's married. The mother expects something. He has 2 children. So how do we think that the person will even cope with 300 or 400 Ghana, 500 Ghana? There are players, teams who pay this. So I think we need to look at all these things holistically and be able to say, look, we must depart from this situation. How much do we pay players for parents to have confidence to say that, oh, I can allow my child to go and play football, that even if he's playing ball, he can take care of his wife, that he will not be a burden to me, and XS. So if we look at all those things, I think we'll be able to pay. But I think the new administration, there's a lot of work to be done. The new, I still call it ESCO. I call it, but...
it's still ESCO. It's just now it's a council.
A council. So I think there's a lot of work they have to do to support the president to be able to get it done. They must be able to depart from those systems we're talking about. All of them, we need to come with a clean mind, because some of them have clubs and some of them have affiliation, have association, and they should depart from that. It must be my club. My club must get it. So
you don't think we'll get there?
I think we will be able to get there, but that's why I said that we need to be patient. That's why I call for patience from the beginning.
And I see that for all your responses and narrations, you're saying we should have patience. How long should we give any new administration, starting from today?
Well, this is a new administration and a new administration. Why do I say that? It is a system we're just getting into. Okay, so it's new and new. Now, in this system, it does not mean that you say in the next 4 years you should give them, let's do the first 4 years, just like politics. Say, oh, they just came 4 years, it's not enough, so another 4 years. Well, it's an institution being run by human beings. But I believe that the people, all of them are football people. Everybody in ESCO is football. The president is a football person, and all the other people, all stakeholders must come together. We need to have patience. But having said that, we need to begin to look at the structures. First of all, how do we get our coast football running? If we are saying patience, what does the patience mean? I would say in the next 2 years, all the structures for the coast football, the confidence will be rebuilt. Then people will have confidence in the coast. We need to say, is it going to take us 18 months or is it going to take us in the next 20 months to be able to? How do we make our league, which is what propels our economy, which makes the poor lady sitting in the home to be able to sell peanuts, to carry the pure water and other things in the stadium? How long will they have that patience? So I think we need to look at that and say, if we put all these things into place, maybe I'm looking in the next 24 months, we should be able to have a roadmap that we could say that, no, our local league is becoming strong. Because don't forget that even now, I don't know how the sponsorship is going to come in. You understand? Which corporate institution is coming out? So, well, I heard you are rebranded. Now that you are rebranded, I'm ready to do of X amount, 2 million per year or 3 million per year. I don't know what the economy is. Everybody is crying about the economy. So I don't know.
We just had a good outlook by the IMF in the World Bank.
That's a plus.
You are down there, so you know what you're... Anyway, but please, we're opening the phone lines, and the phone lines will be on your screens very soon. But now we have the WhatsApp platform, 054010-909. Let us hear from you. Let us know what you think. And the phone lines also will be on your screens. Call us, 030 number, and let us know what you think. We're all football enthusiasts, but we have to make it work. It looks like we want to be like some of the best football nations, but also we want to take into account how our state is, the structure of our society, etc. Well, let me just announce the line: 0302211691 or 03022691 or 2116991 or 2. Okay, now we want to be like them, and we also want to make sure we play within our contest. At what point should we say that this is how we have to model the structure? Based on what the administration will bring forward in terms of where society were not too developed, and those who will be looking at grassroots or be managing grassroots football teams or coast teams also are coming from a very micro background at the end of the day. So it comes from somewhere before you get to the professional level. That's what I mean.
Okay. Now, like I said earlier, if you remember, I was just talking about government participation in terms of football.
Why is that important?
Well, I think it's very important because that will help us bridge the gap.
Okay.
Okay. In terms of bridging the gap, when government, for instance, owns, like, let's say, half of the teams in the Premier, let's say 9 of them belongs to the club and the state, we are sure that the player who is not struggle, they will not complain. There will be comfortable situations in terms of government investment. Government will be able to, any team that is owned by the government, I don't think they will say they don't have a facility of where to house their parents, or in terms of medication, where they will be able to get referrals when they are injured in a situation. But you find that in the other side of it, when a club that is managed just by an individual, you find out that sometimes when it's even injury, you ask yourself, where are those boys treated? Where are they accommodated? What do they eat? And that's still the picture of the pressure on the player, because there's a lot of pressure on the players, and that makes the players not to be patient and not to be able, because, like I said, every parent saying that once you're a footballer, you must be able to take care of me because your mother, you are playing Accra as of work. So you should be earning maybe $2,000, $3,000, an assumption, because Michael Essien, we heard about Michael Essien, he has bought 17 houses, bought this, Osei Kufu has done this and done this. But we are not being patient and not understanding the system, our own economy, and the thing, like what the players are being paid for, what they go through, how do they get, how do they eat? They are married, some of them have, so we need to be patient. That's why I use the language patient. Patience.
Okay, we have Inusa from Bunkrungu. Inusa, good morning.
Good morning, Runa.
Yeah, your contribution. All of us are football fans.
Yes. Thank the man is doing a great job. But I would like to ask him to address one of the challenges that the chief faced was the judicial system in the GFA. This was one of the challenges, the judicial system.
Yeah, adjudication
because, if you check at UK or Germany, they have, like maybe if there's a case, one person sits on it, then maybe they appeal 2 or 3 people. Within 24 hours, the case is resolved. But Ghana is a challenge.
I think even in the UK, less than before the match day ends, you get a
result. So these are some of the challenges they have to address.
Inusa, you're on top of your game. You really follow football in Ghana. Now let's go to Boso and Mumuni. Mumuni is on the line. Mumuni, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Rola. How are you?
Boson Kwanta, that's where you're calling from, right? I'm fine. I'm fine. Mumuni, please go ahead.
Let me first of all say good morning to your panelists.
Mr. Frank Nelson,
Yes. I think we thank God that at the end of the day we'll be able to elect a president who will see to our football for the next 4 years. But I think I still have a problem with the way things will be going on. One, some of us. Hello.
Yes, you are on the line. I'm listening to you, sir.
I think some of us supported the creation of new of football administration. So precisely where I stay, it's a 7 hours to 8 hours drive from Western North to Takoradi. And then how can we travel all the way to Takoradi as the regional capital to play football? And thank God that a regional has been created for Western North. And yet, we have not been able to establish a RFA office at the regional capital so that the football will come closer to us. And again, go to the northern region. People from Taka will have to travel all the way to Tamale. How will grassroots football, how can we empower grassroots football? All these things we were not able to empower grassroots football because of the distance. So those areas were neglected. And it is a fact. So instead of them to have elected regional RFA offices in the new regions, but they ignore it. And so it has come up to square zero. So I don't see how some of us will be enjoying football in Ghana.
Right. I think your point is well made. Now let's address
Inusa.
Inusa. Yeah. Inusa's concern about, and we all did know, some of the cases will travel for months. Some there will be some. Yes. The league will be injuncted, etc. It's something you have even spoken about consistently.
Yeah. I think it was one of the greatest making of Ghana football, and I say it because without offending anybody, if I do, that's okay. But I think we sat on the system because you just heard about Kim Faisal and the Olympics being allowed to join that's why the league is getting to 18. And
it's all for compromise reasons.
And it's all because of this adjudication we had. Cases that were supposed to be dealt with in less than 24 hours, some of them travel for 6 months because clubs, because individuals, because in the secretariat, things are happening. People are showing interest.
But we still have these people with interest making up the ESCO.
Yeah, but everybody understands, the president understands that this mandate is not just a mandate. People are watching.
You think he will act?
He will. He knows he cannot put his reputation.
You have so much confidence.
I know.
Let's go to Fimbusi and then we'll go to Bosaso after that. Isaac and Lukman. But let's start with Isaac. Isaac, please lower the volume of your set and then we can talk. Okay, Lukman.
Yeah.
Is that Isaac or Lukman?
This is Lukman.
Okay, Lukman, please go ahead. And please lower the volume on your set, I beg you. And let's speak, phone to phone.
Yeah, hello.
Please go ahead.
This is Lukman.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, calling from... Yeah, okay.
Please reduce the volume on your set, I said.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Lukman, calling from the region. Fantiako, yeah. Let me say congratulations to the new GFA president. Yeah, but the conversation you are having, I think it is very, very good one. But I'm having problem with this coast football. I don't think in this modern era, coast football is the way forward. I think in this era, all over the country where football is going high, I think it is academy. It is about football academy. In coast football, you see that in an area, a certain guy who doesn't know anything about football, who doesn't know anything about coaching or something like that, will just go and gather some children and say, I'm doing coach football. He will not teach the children anything. The children will grow up raw. They will not have talent about. They will not have any talent about football or something like that. You get it? So what we should do is that we should have football academy across the world. Because the 16 regions, every region should have a very big. I think this one, the government should come in. With the government should create what we call big academy, so that in every region, whenever we see talent, we move them there, so that they will grow through that academy or something like that. But coach football, I don't think in this modern era, coach football will help us or something like that. Yeah,
Look, man, thank you very much. Now let's go to New Fadama and Abdul Rahman. Abdul Rahman is there. Abdul.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, bro.
How are you?
Charlie, are they fine? Make you talk.
You're fine, eh?
Allah.
I agree with the Mr. Frank Nelson. You understand? And then I want to congratulate the new FA president, Mr. Okraku. But Mr.
Nelson,
what I want us to discuss is right now, we want the coast football back. I'm telling you, that will make the average Ghanaian maybe to do better in football. Because this academy right now, you know, some people, if you don't have it, you are nobody. We have quality players. I think you'll be coming to Fadama.
Yeah, I do. You know, I'm a Zongo boy, so Charlie.
Yeah, you're a Zongo boy. You'll be coming to, you see our talent.
Yeah, I know.
You see our talent when you come to Fadama. I have my son. He's called Alasan. He can play better. But if I don't have the opportunity, how can I take him to academy?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think your point is made there. Let's go to E.T. Mensah, not a politician, but an ordinary citizen with the acronym E.T. E.T. Mensah from WA.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. E.T. Mensah from WA.
Thank you, Roland, for this education on soccer.
Exactly.
And I want to thank Mr. Nelson too. Some of us also involve ourselves in soccer sport in the region. But one of the issues I think the new GFA need to address is the district management course system. At least if the GFA president can team up with the GES, sometimes they normally have PE masters in each district, so that they can have an office within the GES that they can partner to handle the course system within those areas, especially those kids from JSS or primary schools and the other students who even intended going to academy, but they don't have the opportunity. But they can partner with the local team within those areas so that they can have a background on how coaching, how you're supposed to teach a student, a player on how to play football. I think if we are going to do those things, at least within 2 years, 10 years or 15 years, we'll get a lot of players in Ghana. And my last issue is in connection of the other people that they voted into in addition to the president, like
the executive council members,
executive committee members.
Council.
The president needs to be careful on those executive committee members. Sometimes, to some of these problems within the Ghana Football Association, normally created by the executive committee members. You can recollect the time Kosini Tichi was there. When Randy Abe was a member of the GFA, there was a lot of problems within the GFA. And I think as an old person like Randy Abe coming in as an executive committee member, the president needs to be cautious of the matters that are coming in. So that those
E.T. Mensah, thank you very much. You are in WA speculating. Now let's go to Tadi, your last caller, Samuel Mensah. Samuel.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Let's give you 30 seconds. Sorry, I can't give you much time.
Yeah. Good morning. Please. It's a nice program that you put in. You see, with the lovers of football, we want Ghana to move forward. And anytime that we hear of football, we want to listen, we want to follow it. Because my best idea is that we need to make the coast team very strong. Because bringing out academy, it involves a lot of resources. So if the coast team is very strong, and if every community have a team, and I think we can push those coast boys to those things, so then they can move forward. because academy, it involves a lot of resources. And no investor.
Samuel, you've made your point. Samuel, you've made your point. And if it looks like everybody is about courts and academy and all that, but at the end of the day, everybody's concerned about how we produce the talents, because the talents we see are abundant just now, but they are also in abundance. Okay, so how do we string this together? Brazil, for example, has a nice futsal model. They want Chindi, the small in the community, and then the academies of the big teams. For example, when I was growing up in Ashaiman, there are people who were playing for Gapoa. There were people who were, I think, is it Prampram? There was a team in Prampram FC or something like. Afenya United. There was Todzima. There was a lot of them. Do you understand? Yeah. And then they feed the academies of the big teams. Okay. So you have them play for Sao Paulo, ultimately being picked from the communities in the futsal. Yeah. So we can do that. How do we have a GFA, or can we have a GFA administration that will do that?
Well, again, it's easy, but then
there's money issues.
And then there's trust, because personnels. You need to get personnel who are selfless, not selfish personnel. This is a human institution. The GFA couple, Kate, and his executive committee will be running, but between me and you, they cannot be on ground every day. They need to work through human beings. Regardless of the financial impediment that will come with it, because you need to train coaches, you need to make sure that you have a coach who understands what football. That means coaches has to be trained. There's a time I was even educating in this nation that time passed. We used to hear about how did Osamde do, how did Ade, how did James Atukofi, how did CK James, how did they have the experience? You find that most of them had the exploit outside. So what happened this time? And they were being sponsored by the state? The answer was yes. So why has the state departed?
Some of them went to the former USSR.
Some Brazil and every other thing. So what has happened that the government has stopped those interventions? Because those are what, every time you want to talk about football, you want to talk about CK James, you want to talk about Day, you want to talk about some Dodo, you want to, these are the people who say yes, these are the people who had the experience, and how did they acquire such experience. And I believe that this is one thing the GFA couple will be looking at, because I know that he must make sure that coaches are very important, and he wants to have the most of them in the society, so that we'll be able to say that we're producing enough time to be able to help the talents we have. So basically, I think we need to find money. The sponsorship has to be there to be able to help the coast. Corporate body has to understand that the money they invest will not just come today, because they're investing on the coast system. So we'll be able to support the coast system. Okay. So basically,
I want to ask you in 30 seconds. Okay. We're supposed to have a vice for him, and I know the executive or the ESCO will approve, right? Yeah. That's what the structure says. But the president will nominate?
Well, the president will nominate. Maybe he will pick 1 or 2, 3 people and ask his colleagues to make a choice out of the 3.
But we still need to have experienced people around him.
We cannot do
so
without
who would you advise for?
Well, looking at the
like a number of people.
Yeah. For instance, somebody, Dr. Bin is a seasoned administrator. I know him. Randy Abe, he's been with the Football Association. Everybody knows him. He knows what he's doing at Bando as of Lion for now. And the other people like George Amako, there are people, the other people, even Enimadu, the young Enimadu we are talking about, he's been managing our best player for so many years, and I'm sure that he's learned a lot and he knows what he's doing. But having said that, maybe he does not have that experience, but you cannot take it out from them. Once you have what it takes to be in ESCO or Executive Council, but for me, I'll start looking at from Randy Abe, Dr. Bin. But for me, in my opinion, if I want to say by experience, I think if you ask Frank Nelson to appoint for the president, I'll pick Randy Abe and say, take this man as your vice and let's see what he gives you. But I believe with him and Randy Abe, we'll get a positive result.
You're daring. That's why you're a businessman. Thank you very much. Frank Nelson.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this one is a couple. Yeah. And he's also with Okraku, a great administrator, also an entrepreneur, and has a lot of insight into what happens in Ghana football and business in our country. He says that, Charlie, at the micro level, things are not in business. That's business. But thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you very much.